Yeah, cool. I want to cover guard passing and all that. I want to look to cover one of my favorite passes, which is the knee cut pass. I really like knee cut passes. I don't really know why. I've just always gravitated towards them. It's a really good position in terms of, one, we can kind of use speed to try to enter into this sort of position, but then we can really like camp in these sort of positions and kind of like really cook our partner. We don't need to pass straight away. Sometimes you'll see people use knee cut passes where they like dive and fly through their partner's guard. That's not the knee cut passing I like. I like to hang out there like for minutes at a time, wear my partner out before I eventually consolidate my pass, okay? I'm not going to teach it when we're hanging out there for like 2-3 minutes, but we'll teach it in one fluid motion, right? But that is the reason why I like these positions, because we can really wear someone out, and that makes it easier once we have passed to then start to look to lock in our submissions and things like that. Okay, so we're going to use that same entry. Right, I'll get you to go just off to this corner for me, Dan. All right, so when I go to enter in, again, I always want to make sure I dominate that inside position. I'm shooting that hand inside, so I'm trying to avoid this knee shield coming in right from the get-go. Right, if it gets in, fair enough, I'll find ways to deal with it, but I don't want it to get in straight away. So I'm looking to shoot my hand towards the ribs, hand comes to the knee, we hit that same entry that we've just done. Big key point, like I said, is that hip wants to be connected to our partner's hip. Right, there's no space for that knee to come in, right, and I'm nice and heavy on my partner. This knee, I'm not committing to the floor until I decide I'm ready to actually go for the knee cut pass itself. There's other passing options from here. If that knee's off the floor, I'm not as committed, meaning I can start to switch off and do other things. Right, but for now, I'm here in this position. Now, once I am ready to start to go, there's a few different things I'm gonna have to worry about. Usually, right, I'm bypassing my partner's legs, their hands are gonna start to come into play. Right, oftentimes I'll be posting on this far shoulder, and this can actually start to make it hard for me to get chest to chest. I want to get low with an underhook and chest to chest to my partner. This is going to be quite difficult. So what we're going to look to do is we're actually going to hit a technique called the Rao drag. There's a guy called Jason Rao over in the States that has really popularized this. I don't think he invented it. I think someone else invented it, but he's really, really good at it. Okay, so we're going to look to hit this technique. So all I'm really going to do is I'm really just going to have this hand kind of cupping under my partner's arm. So it's almost like a preemptive underhook. This hand here, I'm just going to look to kind of disconnect my chest, and I'm going to start to palm his arm off. So I'm trying to get this action here. Right? Frames are really strong in a straight line. So if I'm trying to drive through these frames, especially if Jan's got locked arms here, I'm not going to go through this. Right? Not easily anyway. If I can start to disconnect and guide the frame off to the side, now it's much easier for me to get through. Now he might have this bottom arm as a frame, but now it's easy just to tilt my chest and slide inside it. While there's two hands there, a little bit of a different story. He can kind of keep me away much better. But once he only has one point, it's easy for me to slide in. So I'm looking to hit that drag off. Now I can slide in, keep this underhook. My head's now going to come low, and there's different ways you can position your head. Sometimes people will like just put their head to the floor. Me personally, I like as much control over my partner's head as possible. So I'll either put my head to the floor and then drive it into his head to make it hard for him to turn into me, or if I'm feeling really nasty that day, I can put my head right underneath his chin. All right, that's just to keep him flat and again, stop him from turning. Personally, I actually do prefer here and turning the head. This is the position I like. Now, this hand, depending on what he's doing, right, I might just cup the outside of his arm, slide off, walk the hips back, and start to come through. The other thing that I can do, however, is when I am here, I can look to go high for the crossface, and then as he's like trying to block that high, I bring it low. So I've got like a near side underhook or a second underhook. Now from here, I can do pretty much the same thing. I can slide off, and now as I walk my hips back, I'm kind of going to flare this elbow to turn him on his side. This is going to create back exposure where I can start to hunt the back and do other things. So as I walk back, I flare this elbow to throw the arm across my body. And now I can start to lock up gift wraps and things like that. Okay, something for another day. I won't go over that today. Okay, so once again, hand shoots to the ribs, hand shoots to the knee. We enter here, hip to hip. All right, Dan's trying to keep me away. Because like, I've bypassed his legs, but it's nothing stopping his hands from keeping me away. All right, so now I need to get past these frames. It's really important. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a disconnect with my chest. I catch his wrist, underhook, and I'm trying to flare that arm out. All right, so we're going here. Now I can slide my chest and head into position. Notice now I've committed, my knees come down to the floor. This hand, I can come through, might even collect my partner's arm. Honestly, there's lots of different things I can do with this, but the big thing that I'm focusing on is I'm sliding not forwards with my hips here, where it brings my head away and he can potentially take me over. I want to make sure that when I am here, I'm sliding out hips hit the floor, and there's that kind of like that episode of The Simpsons where you see Homer in Mr. Burns' office running around in a circle going whoop, 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 whoop. It's kind of that. It's like play that episode in reverse. That's kind of what I want. I run those hips back, and I can throw that arm over, okay? Are we happy with that one, guys? Does anyone want to see it again? No? Yeah, one more. Hand inside to the ribs, hand to the knee. We enter in, all right? He's framing on my shoulder, right? So he's taking a cross post. He could be same side, 2 hands here. I could still do this, or like, sorry, 1 hand on either shoulder. Here, I could do the same technique from this one. We'll just do it off this cross shoulder post here. Disconnect, palm this off. Sliding. Now that I'm here, if my hand slides for a second underhook, awesome, I'll just take that. I slide off, let my hips hit the floor, and now I run my hips back and away. When I run my hips back and away, don't let them come up, keep them on the mat. That's gonna help turn your partner's hips away from you and make it harder for them to like re-guard and do different things, okay? Go with the partner, let's give it a go. All right, so what we'll look to do now is we'll look to address the knee shield. So we've started with like kind of like an ideal situation where we've come into a knee cart, we've gotten past like there's been no knee shield to begin with, and then we've started to have to adjust the hands. But let's say our partner does get that knee shield in, so we're kind of backtracking a little bit. Right? We need to learn how to like start to deal with it and pass it because it's a big obstacle. So if we come, just come this way slightly down. All right, so as we come in, I've somehow messed up and he's gotten this knee in. Now, when this knee shield's in, this can be a pain to deal with. Because as much as I can try to drive forward and through this, Dan's legs, they're strong, they're powerful. If I try to drive forwards, he can just push me away so easy. So I need to think about ways that I can get past this. Now, I can go about it a couple different ways. I can try to remove the leg, right? Or I can start to change the direction of the force. Okay, that's kind of what I want to focus more so on now. Now, there is one benefit, however, by driving into the knee shield. If I drive into Dan's knee shield, there's connection, right? So if we're connected, it's going to make it easier for me to manipulate his hips and things that I want to start to do. So when I'm here and I'm driving in, he's connected to me now. So now, if I start to move, this knee's going to follow me. Right? I'm going to use that to my advantage and I'm going to take his legs over to the other side. So this hand, initially was framed on top of my partner's leg. I'm going to bring it underneath my partner's knee. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of pressure off as I feel him driving in. And I'm going to shuffle to the side. So I'm driving forwards, I feel that connection. I'm starting to redirect that force. Now, I could just do it enough to bring my elbow in and come back in. Right, but what we're going to do is we're going to look to take the legs all the way over and go into like our smash pass position or like our dope mount. So when we are here and I'm driving in, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I'm getting this knee across my body. So this knee was down before. Now I've brought it up, past my center line. Now that I'm here, I can look to staple this leg to the floor. My other leg, I'm looking to spear through this gap between Dan's legs. Now I can take this outside leg post. So now I've really looked to smash his hips down. Now, something you do need to be aware of in this position is if I'm really high up on Dan's hips, he's going to have more ability to just raise and lift me up, especially if there's a size discrepancy. If he's a lot bigger than me, it's going to be easy for him to do that. There was a guy that used to train with us back in the day called Tralfo, massive fellow, big long legs. If you got here and you weren't like perfect with your placement, he could just lift you and throw you off easy. Okay, when we are here, we want to be closer to our partner's knee. So now if Dan goes to lift me from here, I'm heavier, it's harder for him to move me. Now, where could I pass from here? We've got lots of different options. We're just going to look to pass to mount. That's my favorite option. Mount's king. If we can get to mount, that's fantastic for us. So I'm going to look to take my crossface because right now, there's not really any space here. I need to open the space up. So by taking my crossface here, one or two things will happen. He'll either reach for my hand or my arm to like try to stop the crossface, in which case that opens up space for my leg to step in, or even if that doesn't work and he doesn't take the bait, I can grab his head and open the space up anyway. Now I'm just looking to cover his quad with my inner thigh, and then I can look to step over into my mount. I've got a cross face, I've got a good underhook, and now I can start to work the arm up high and work into my mount attacks and stuff like that, okay? So, again, I come into my knee cut pass, but Dan's done a good job of bringing this knee shield in. I can try to drive through it, probably not going to happen, but I'm going to use that again to get that reaction. So I'm pushing in. He drives back into me, hand goes underneath the knee. I kind of go back a bit first because it's hard to move while I'm like fully driving in. If I take a bit of weight back and I can become a bit more mobile on my feet, it's going to be easier for me. So as I go back, I walk to the side. I'm getting this knee past my center line. So if we do it like at a bit more of a realistic speed, I'm driving in. I'm hitting that shuffle. Now I spear my knee through and post my leg. All right, low. All right, keeping weight on our partner's leg. I've already got an underhook with this hand here, which is fantastic for me. Now, maybe he goes to block my crossface. Steps over, it still serves a good role for me. Or, crossface, open him up. Then I look to cover his quad with my thigh. I can pass him out with a good underhook. Okay? Anyone want to see it again? No? All right, yeah? Yeah, don't be shy. If you need to see it again, it's like, I don't ask that question for no reason. Okay? So we go in. So maybe I've not got my hand in. So this knee's in. Okay? Hand comes under the knee. This hand's on the outside now. I'm driving in. Dan's trying to push me away. Back. Shuffle to the side. Get this knee past your center line. My leg can come down and over as my other leg spears through. And then I can pull that out and stick my leg out wide for like a good posting leg. Now I can go to reach for his head, right? Maybe he blocks and I step over and then I can step over and mount from here. Or cross face, open that space up between his knee and his elbow. Now my thigh can come in, step over, and we can pass directly in the mount. Okay? Let's give it a go. Last technique, then we'll smile to death.
And beyond.
And beyond.